Mr. Reese, you got a hand for us, sir?
I do.
Okay.
This is 2-5, $1,000 max, but you can match the stack.
2-5, 1,000 cap, but a pure match the stack, huh?
Yeah, basically. Starts out as 1,000, but as the day progresses, it's uncapped.
Okay. So 2-5, 1,000 cap, match the stack. That's great. Obviously, I'm accustomed to that from Texas too. Never played in Michigan though.
It's okay. Usually the 2-5 here is not very good. Really reg heavy.
Okay.
But this game looked okay. There was two players I've never seen before, and then one guy that likes to drink and get wild. So I thought it was okay to sit down.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay, so we are 1,500 effective
Yep.
and going pre-flop.
Okay.
So I'm on the button with the $10 straddle on.
Button straddle, huh?
Yes.
Okay.
The small blind folds and the big blind just calls,
Okay.
and then folds around to the cutoff, who also makes the call.
So limp, limp.
Yes.
Okay.
And then I look down at the king of spades, nine of spades.
So hero in the button straddle with king nine of spades and two limps in front, small blind and the cutoff.
Big blind and
Oh,
cutoff.
so big blind and cutoff. Okay.
Yep.
hmm
And I decide to make it 40.
So hero raises it up to 40. The only thing I would say about that is that, I mean, who knows how these guys play like in your game, but obviously the small blind should really have a kind of a strong range there limping in. I might just check to take my equity. It's probably pretty close. Maybe he's like a VIP guy that's limping a lot. So, you can obviously raise to, build the pot up a little bit, but you don't really have to raise to gain position. So I'd probably be mostly checking here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he is the main villain. He is the drunk, aggressive guy. So I just decided to raise here. But yeah, I get it.
So you make it 40, and what
Yep.
happens?
And big blind calls and the cutoff folds.
All right. So big blind calls and your heads up, cutoff folds. Okay. So pot's like maybe 80 or 90, maybe 85, something like
Yeah,
that.
85, something
Yeah.
around there. Yep.
Okay.
And the flop is the king of clubs,
hmm
four of hearts,
hmm
five of hearts.
King of clubs, four of hearts, five of hearts. So you flop top pair
Yep.
against the guy who seems to be playing pretty wide, right?
Yeah, I
Okay.
was happy with the flop.
Yep.
Until he donk leads into me for $60.
Well, I mean, just because he donk leads doesn't mean that you can't be happy with it, right?
Sure.
I mean, this is one for $50,
He leads for 60.
$60. I mean, this is one where we had a lot of donk lead calls from last week, and you can go back and forth with it whether you want to raise some single paired hands like ace king aces. I mean, I tend to like to do that when I unblock top pair, like if I had aces here and ace king, something like that, maybe without the ace of hearts, just because they have more of a chance of having a flush draw. I would seriously consider raising. Your hand is kind of in between here though too, just because you do lose to some other kings, right? I mean, if you
Yeah.
were to have like king 10, so I mean, I would probably call, I would say.
I decided with the raise, with the two hearts out there, I just wanted to charge for any straight or flush draw.
Uh-huh.
And I decided to make it 160.
So what do you think his range is here for donking the flop?
Yeah, so that's what I thought about initially. I think that most flop sets here would just check raise.
Sure.
Um, I thought any two pair would also just check raise.
hmm
So any combo draws of the straight and flush draw,
hmm
but also, yeah, like you said, any king X. But I thought he would have more flush draw or straight draws here that he was donking with. And that's why I decided to raise.
Well, there certainly are more combinations of king X if he's leading with a lot of king X that he can have than draws. But the question is that would he play a draw with a higher frequency of a donk bet? It's probably pretty close. I mean, it can't be that bad, but I tend to want to do this with hands where I'd like to go for max value in three streets on nice runouts when I raise. And I don't think that king nine, if you raise and then get called and it's a break and you bet again and get called, you're probably going to check back like a blank river, right? I would assume it's not like having ace ace. But okay, so you raise to 160.
Yep, and he makes the call.
All right, so big blind calls. And pot's just over maybe 400, something like that. Okay.
And then the turn comes the nine of diamonds.
So now that not only is that a blank, but you make top two here. So you know, if you had like king jack king 10, a 9 would be a blank, but now you're beating any king here. So now you make two pair. Now you're loving life. Okay, what does the big blind do?
The big blind decides to check.
Okay, so the big blind checks, and now the pot is 405. So, I mean, I would think that you'd want to go for pretty thick value here. Maybe like 2/3, something like that. Maybe 3/4. If you hadn't made kings up, it would be debatable on what kind of size you wanted to take because you're behind to some kings. But here, I would say that you're loving life, right? Like this is like aces.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. So in the moment, I was caught up between a third and 2/3. 2/3, obviously, to get max value from, or not get max value, but to charge any flush draws, like combo draws. So we had 6, 7 of hearts here,
sure.
or something like that. And the only merit that I had for going 1/3 was to get, king, queen, king, jack, king 10 to call. But looking back, I think that he's going to call 2/3. So why not just make it bigger?
Yeah, because I mean, now that you don't have to be worried about your kicker and you want to get max value from draws, I probably would go at least 250 to 300. What'd you end up betting?
I bet 200.
Okay, so you went a little bit smaller. So you go 200,
Yep.
and I assume he calls.
Yep. Just calls.
Okay, so he makes the call. So now the pot's 805, and we roll the river, and hopefully it's not going to be a heart.
It is not. It is the queen of diamonds.
All right, so queen and diamonds on the river. So king 4 5 9. You turn top two. The river here is a queen. And at this point, if he checks to you, I mean, I would still value bet. You're going to get unlucky sometimes if he runs into king queen. And then, he's just going to fold out if he misses draws, right? Like if he misses draws, he's just going to fold out. But and the queen doesn't really change anything in the sense of the only thing that he can really check raise here at the end would be like if he specifically had jack 10 of hearts. I mean, that's about it. But this is one of these ones where I'm not concerned about possibly getting raised at the end to stop me from betting if it gets checked to me. I think at this point, just like I had said on the flop, now that you make top two, it's a 3 straight hand. So what happens here?
Yeah, so I was happy with the queen of diamonds until he tanks for, it felt like a minute, but it was probably just 30 seconds. And he decides to jam for 1100.
Holy shit, he jams. Wow. By the way, holy shit, is that Nick Airball in the live chat? What's up, Nick Airball? I don't know if Nick Airball is going to get a chance to play on the Hustler stream with Keating and Eric Person, but I'm sure he's clamoring to get in this week as we record this. Like I said, I'll be out there at the end of the week. So he jams here for 1100, so it's about a pot and a half size bet. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
11 into 805, something like that. I mean, if you're saying that he's a wild VIP guy, I mean, I would definitely call. I mean, I would feel much, much better here calling with King 9 than I would with aces.
Yeah.
And honestly, here's another thing too. I would feel better with calling here with ace king than aces. Why is that?
You feel better calling with ace king
Than aces.
Aces?
Yeah, against this action now.
Because you're blocking king queen.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're just blocking the fact that he might have done something run into kings up here. If you have ace king, both hands are pretty much bluff catchers. But now that you've got king 9, I mean, really, you're only losing to king queen. And if he even plays it that way, remember, you raise flop and then continue to bet on turn. Not that you took a huge sizing, but now we could debate on whether or not he does this with king queen or if it even matters. But I mean, at this point, I even though it's an over pot size bet, I definitely call.
Yeah, I was scared just because like who's bluffing here. But after thinking back, I just think that he has a lot more bluffs here than he would have for value. I mean, yeah, like we know king queen. If he has 10 jack of hearts, or if he has queens, but I don't think he's coming with queens here. So I just sighed and made the call.
Yep. So hero calls.
And he shows the ace of hearts, 2 of hearts.
For the front door nut flush bluff. So he had a combo draw, right? So he had a combo draw and he whiffed on it. And for some reason, he decided to go balls to the wall here at the end. That's interesting. Usually you don't see that type of upfront type of play, but I think what you can take away from this though too is turn sizing is larger, and then the key on the river. Yeah, what would you have done with aces here at the end actually?
I think I would have folded.
I mean, especially if you had the ace of hearts. That's a really bad combo to have,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I think with aces, I just have to fold.
Yeah. Interesting. Interesting hand. Thank you very much for the call.